A surprise New Year plan is being made around you right now. Don't scroll, stay till the end, because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now, and I want you to notice how you were pulled here without effort, how something inside you slowed down when you saw this title, because the universe does not interrupt you without intention, especially not at the edge of a new year when endings and beginnings overlap in powerful ways. And listen to this carefully, as if the universe itself is speaking directly to you, because there is a surprise New Year plan quietly being formed with you at the center of it, not loudly, not publicly, but intentionally, thoughtfully, and emotionally, and this isn't imagination, it's alignment, and your heart needs this right now because you've been feeling something shift lately. A subtle sense that life is rearranging itself behind the scenes, that conversations feel slightly different, that memories surface unexpectedly, that your name rests on someone's mind more often than you know. And don't scroll, because this is not about coincidence, this is about timing, and timing is sacred. And listen to this, someone has been thinking about how to enter the new year with you in mind, replaying moments, considering words, planning details, not because they are obligated, but because they want this to matter. And your heart needs this right now because you may have felt overlooked or uncertain recently, wondering if people truly see you, wondering if you matter in the way you quietly give. But listen to this carefully, you are being considered more deeply than you realize, and the universe often keeps surprises hidden until the heart is ready to receive them without fear. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan is not just about an event or a moment, it's about emotional intention, and intention is the language of destiny. And listen to this. When someone plans with intention, it means your presence changes the way they think about time, about transitions, about what comes next. And your heart needs this right now because you've spent so much of this year learning patience, learning to let go of expectations, learning not to force connections that weren't aligned, and that growth is exactly why something new is forming now. And don't scroll, because the universe often prepares joy quietly, especially for those who have learned how to sit with uncertainty without closing their hearts. And listen to this. You may have noticed signs lately, little nudges that felt out of place but persistent, like seeing 11:11 when thinking about fresh starts, 2:22 when partnership or balance crosses your mind, 5:55 when change feels close but undefined. And these are not random numbers, they are signals, gentle confirmations that something is aligning in your favor. And your heart needs this right now because alignment doesn't announce itself loudly, it reveals itself through calm assurance. And don't scroll, because this message is also about the emotional layer beneath the plan. Someone is feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness about including you, because when feelings are real, people want to get things right. And listen to this carefully, that hesitation you sense is not doubt, it's care, and your heart needs this right now because care is something you value deeply, even if you rarely ask for it. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan is being shaped during quiet moments, during pauses in conversation, during reflective nights when someone asks themselves how they want the next chapter to feel. And your name keeps appearing in those thoughts, not as a passing idea, but as a presence that brings warmth. And listen to this, warmth is how the universe signals alignment, not intensity, not chaos. And your heart needs this right now because you are learning to recognize peace as attraction, not boredom. And don't scroll, because this message is also about your spiritual awakening, the way you've become more intuitive, more sensitive to energy shifts, more aware of what's being formed beneath the surface. And that awareness can feel confusing at times, but listen to this carefully. Awareness is preparation, and preparation is always followed by revelation. and your heart needs this right now because you are ready to receive something without needing to control it, and don't scroll, because this plan is not about impressing others, it's about meaning, and meaning is what lasts. And listen to this, the universe does not rush meaningful things, it lets them form slowly so they can hold weight. And your heart needs this right now because you've been carrying weight all year, emotional weight, unspoken hopes, quiet resilience, and you didn't drop it, you didn't harden, you stayed open, and that openness is being met now. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan may not look like what you imagine, but it will feel right. And listen to this carefully, feeling right is more important than looking perfect. And your heart needs this right now because you are learning to trust how things feel rather than how they appear. And don't scroll, because the universe is also asking you to release the urge to anticipate every detail. Anticipation can turn joy into anxiety, and listen to this, joy arrives most fully when it's allowed to surprise you, and your heart needs this right now because you deserve to be surprised gently, not shocked. And don't scroll, because this message is also about timing within relationships, especially soulmate-level connections. And listen to this carefully. Soulmate energy doesn't always arrive dramatically, sometimes it arrives thoughtfully, through plans that say, I thought of you, I wanted you there. This matters more because you're part of it, and your heart needs this right now because you've longed for that kind of consideration, even if you never said it out loud. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan is also symbolic. It represents a shift from surviving to participating, from waiting to being included, from wondering to being chosen in small but meaningful ways. And listen to this, small choices made with intention carry more power than grand gestures made without heart. And your heart needs this right now because power doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers. And don't scroll, because the universe is also reminding you not to minimize your importance, not to tell yourself, it's probably nothing, not to dismiss what feels significant. And listen to this carefully, if something feels meaningful, it usually is. And your heart needs this right now because you've been learning to trust your inner compass instead of external validation. And don't scroll, because this is also a message about letting the new year meet you where you are, not where you think you should be. And listen to this, you don't have to become someone else to be included in what's coming. You are already enough, already worthy of being considered. And your heart needs this right now because worthiness is not earned through effort, it's recognized through presence. And don't scroll, because this plan is being formed around who you are, not who you pretend to be. And listen to this carefully, authenticity attracts intention, and intention attracts alignment, and alignment brings surprises that don't disrupt your peace, they deepen it. And your heart needs this right now because peace is the foundation of everything you want to carry into the new year. And don't scroll, because the universe is also preparing you to receive without suspicion, to enjoy without questioning motives, to accept care without asking if you deserve it. And listen to this, receiving is a skill, and you are learning it now. And your heart needs this right now because you've spent so much time giving, and giving is beautiful, but balance is sacred. And don't scroll, because this message is also a cliffhanger, not because it's incomplete, but because life is about to show you what words cannot yet explain. And listen to this carefully. You don't need to know the details now, you only need to stay open, grounded, and present. And your heart needs this right now because presence is how blessings recognize you. And don't scroll, because as the new year approaches, something thoughtful is already being shaped in your orbit, quietly, intentionally, and right on time. And when it reveals itself, you will recognize it not by shock, but by a calm sense of, this feels right, and that feeling will tell you everything you need to know. Don't scroll, Stay with me, because what I'm about to share now is where the unseen begins to take shape, and your heart needs this right now even if you're trying to stay neutral and not expect too much, because this message is for you at a moment when energy is moving quietly but deliberately around your life. And listen to this carefully. The surprise New Year plan forming around you is not just an idea floating in someone's mind anymore. It is becoming clearer, more intentional, more emotionally charged, and that's why you may have felt a strange mix of calm and anticipation lately, as if something good is approaching but hasn't announced itself yet. And don't scroll, because this isn't about coincidence or wishful thinking, it's about alignment, and alignment always creates subtle signals before it creates visible results. And listen to this, someone has been revisiting memories connected to you. Moments that felt simple at the time but now carry meaning, moments that made them feel understood, grounded, or seen, and those memories are shaping how they want to enter the new year, not rushed, not careless, but with intention. And your heart needs this right now because you may have spent a lot of this year feeling like you were always adjusting to others, always waiting for clarity, always giving without knowing if it was truly received, and the universe has been watching how you handled that season, watching how you stayed open without becoming bitter, how you stayed kind without becoming invisible. And don't scroll, because that observation matters. And listen to this carefully, the universe does not prepare meaningful surprises for those who are closed off, it prepares them for those who have learned patience without losing hope, and that's you. And your heart needs this right now because patience is not passive, it is active trust, and trust is what allows good things to form without interference. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan is being influenced by emotion more than logic, by feeling more than convenience, and that's why it hasn't been spoken yet, because when something matters emotionally, people take time to get it right. And listen to this, hesitation born of care feels very different from hesitation born of indifference, and your intuition can feel the difference even if your mind questions it. And your heart needs this right now because intuition is one of the ways the universe communicates with those who are listening. And don't scroll, because you may have noticed little signs showing up when your thoughts drift toward the future, like seeing 11:11 when imagining a fresh start, 2:22 when thinking about shared moments or balance, 3:33 when you feel emotionally supported without knowing why. And these signs are not asking you to act or reach out, they are reminding you that something is aligning, that you don't need to force what is already being formed. And listen to this carefully, forcing joy often turns it into pressure, while allowing joy lets it arrive naturally. And your heart needs this right now because you are learning to let good things come to you without questioning your worthiness. And don't scroll, because this message is also about timing in soulmate level connections. And listen to this, soulmate energy doesn't always announce itself with fireworks, sometimes it shows up as thoughtfulness, as planning, as quiet consideration, and those are signs of depth, not lack of excitement. And your heart needs this right now because depth is what lasts beyond moments. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan is also symbolic. It represents a shift from isolation into inclusion, from feeling on the outside of things into being intentionally invited into someone's vision of what comes next. And listen to this carefully, being included in someone's future plans is one of the clearest signals of emotional importance. And your heart needs this right now because you've longed to feel chosen in that quiet, steady way, not through grand declarations, but through consistent intention. And don't scroll, because the universe is also preparing you internally to receive this without fear, fear that says, what if it doesn't last? Fear that says, what if I misread this? And listen to this, Fear often tries to steal joy before it arrives, and your heart needs this right now because joy does not require guarantees to be real, it only requires presence. And don't scroll, because presence is what you've been cultivating, even without realizing it, by staying grounded, by continuing your life, by not putting everything on hold waiting for someone else to decide. And listen to this carefully. That groundedness is magnetic, it makes people want to include you, plan with you, build with you, because grounded energy feels safe, and your heart needs this right now because safety is the foundation of all meaningful plans. And don't scroll, because this message is also reminding you not to underestimate the power of being remembered. Someone has been imagining how you would feel, what would make you smile, what would make you feel comfortable, and that kind of consideration does not come from obligation, it comes from care. And listen to this, care is quiet but powerful, and your heart needs this right now because quiet care often goes unnoticed until it reveals itself fully. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan may involve a change of environment, a gathering, a shared experience, or a moment of connection that feels simple on the surface but significant underneath. And listen to this carefully. Significance is felt in the body before it's understood by the mind, and your heart needs this right now because you are learning to trust how things feel, not just how they look. And don't scroll, because the universe is also asking you to stay open without attachment, to allow the moment to arrive without scripting it, to experience without immediately defining outcomes. And listen to this, openness keeps joy light, while attachment makes it heavy, and your heart needs this right now because light joy is easier to receive. And don't scroll, because this message is also about your spiritual growth, the way you've become more aware of subtle emotional currents, more sensitive to shifts in energy, more attuned to timing. And that growth can feel lonely at times, but listen to this carefully, awareness always precedes alignment, and alignment always precedes manifestation. And your heart needs this right now because manifestation doesn't always look like what you imagine. Sometimes it looks like being thought of, included, remembered, and planned for. And don't scroll, because the universe is also reminding you that you do not need to earn surprises through struggle, you do not need to suffer to deserve joy. And listen to this, joy is not a reward for pain, it is a response to alignment. And your heart needs this right now because you have aligned yourself by staying true, patient, and open. And don't scroll, because this is also a gentle warning not to dismiss what feels meaningful just because it arrives quietly. Quiet things often carry the most depth. And listen to this carefully, depth is what sustains happiness beyond the moment. And your heart needs this right now because you are moving into a season where depth matters more than novelty. And don't scroll, because this message is also preparing you for the emotional shift that comes when something anticipated finally arrives, a mix of surprise, relief, and warmth. And listen to this. That warmth is how you'll recognize that this was meant for you, and your heart needs this right now because recognition brings peace. And don't scroll, because the universe is also asking you to trust the process without demanding proof ahead of time. Trust doesn't mean blindness, it means allowing life to unfold without constant resistance. And listen to this carefully, resistance blocks joy, while openness invites it. And your heart needs this right now because you've been practicing openness all year, and now it's being met. And don't scroll, because as the new year approaches, the plan being made around you is gaining clarity, momentum, and emotional weight. And when it finally reveals itself, you will understand why it needed time, why it couldn't be rushed, and why you were guided to stay patient. And listen to this, patience did not delay your blessing, it prepared you to receive it fully. and your heart needs this right now because what is coming is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to meet you where you are, gently, intentionally, and right on time, and don't scroll, because this unfolding is still in motion, and what comes next will build on this awareness, asking you to stay present, receptive, and grounded, because presence is how blessings recognize you when they arrive. Don't scroll, stay with me, because what unfolds now is where the quiet intention begins to turn into emotional momentum, and your heart needs this right now even if you're telling yourself not to get ahead of things, because this message is for you at a moment when unseen decisions are becoming clearer in someone else's heart, and listen to this carefully. The surprise New Year plan forming around you is no longer just thoughtful. It's becoming personal, shaped by emotion, memory, and a desire to make you feel included in a way you haven't felt in a long time, and that's why you may have noticed a shift not just around you, but within you, a sense of anticipation mixed with calm, as if something good is approaching without needing to announce itself. And don't scroll, because this is not imagination, it's resonance. And resonance happens when two energies begin to align toward the same direction, and listen to this. Someone has moved from thinking about you to thinking with you in mind, imagining how moments might feel if you were there, how the transition into a new year would carry more meaning if you were part of it, and your heart needs this right now because you may have spent much of this year feeling like you were always adapting, always fitting into other people's plans rather than being planned for. And the universe has been quietly correcting that imbalance, and don't scroll, because this is where the emotional layer deepens. The person involved is not just planning logistics, they are weighing feelings, considering timing, questioning whether they are ready to show their care in a visible way, and listen to this carefully. When someone hesitates at this stage, it's rarely because they don't care, it's because they care enough to fear getting it wrong, and your heart needs this right now because you value sincerity over spectacle. And sincerity takes time to form, and don't scroll. Because the universe has been reinforcing this alignment with signs meant to steady you, not excite you too quickly, and you may have noticed 444 when you needed reassurance, reminding you that you're protected, 222 when thoughts of shared experiences surfaced, signaling balance and partnership, or 1:11 when the idea of a fresh start felt suddenly real. And listen to this, these signs are not promises of outcome, they are confirmations of direction, showing you that you're moving with the current instead of against it, and your heart needs this right now because moving with the current feels lighter, even when the destination isn't fully visible. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan is also connected to your spiritual awakening, the way you've become more aware of subtle emotional cues, more sensitive to timing, more patient with unfolding rather than forcing, and that awareness has changed how you attract experiences. You no longer pull chaos toward you, you draw intention, and listen to this carefully. Intention is the foundation of anything that lasts beyond a moment, and your heart needs this right now because lasting things require emotional readiness on both sides. And readiness doesn't always announce itself with certainty, sometimes it shows up as quiet resolve. As someone choosing to include you instead of staying comfortable alone. And don't scroll, because the universe is also preparing you to receive this without questioning whether you deserve it. And listen to this, questioning worth is one of the last habits to fall away before alignment fully settles. And your heart needs this right now because you've been learning that your presence alone has value. You don't need to perform, impress, or overgive to be considered. And don't scroll, because this message is also about releasing the urge to predict how things will unfold. Prediction often steals joy from the present, and listen to this carefully. The most meaningful surprises arrive when the heart is open but not clinging, and your heart needs this right now because openness without attachment keeps joy light, and don't scroll, because the person involved has been noticing your energy, the way you don't push, the way you don't demand answers, the way you allow space without disappearing, and that balance has been creating emotional safety. And listen to this, safety is what turns thoughts into action, and your heart needs this right now because safety is something you've learned to create naturally, not through effort, but through authenticity. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan may involve shared time, a gathering, a moment of connection that feels simple but carries meaning. And listen to this carefully. Meaning is felt before it's understood, and your heart needs this right now because you are learning to trust feeling over analysis. And don't scroll, because the universe is also reminding you that not every important moment arrives loudly, some arrive softly and settle deeply. And listen to this, depth is what transforms moments into memories, and your heart needs this right now because you crave depth more than novelty, even if you rarely say it out loud. And don't scroll, because this message is also preparing you for the emotional shift that comes when anticipation turns into experience, a shift that feels like relief rather than adrenaline, warmth rather than chaos. And listen to this carefully, warmth is the sign of alignment, not intensity, and your heart needs this right now because you've outgrown connections that thrived on intensity but couldn't sustain peace. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan reflects a different kind of energy, one that respects your pace, honors your presence, and considers your comfort. And listen to this, consideration is one of the purest expressions of care, and your heart needs this right now because you deserve to be considered, not just accommodated. And don't scroll, because the universe is also asking you to stay present as this unfolds, not to live too far ahead, not to brace for disappointment, not to downplay significance. And listen to this carefully, presence is how you receive fully, and your heart needs this right now because receiving is part of the lesson you've been learning this year. And don't scroll, because this message is also a reminder that alignment often feels calm, not dramatic, and calm can feel unfamiliar if you've associated excitement with uncertainty. And listen to this, calm joy is still joy, and often the kind that lasts, and your heart needs this right now because you are stepping into a season where lasting matters more than loud. And don't scroll, because as the new year approaches, the plan forming around you is gaining emotional clarity, even if details are still undefined. And listen to this carefully, clarity doesn't always come as information, sometimes it comes as a feeling of readiness, and your heart needs this right now because readiness is forming in you too, readiness to receive without overthinking, to enjoy without guarding, to step into a moment without rehearsing outcomes. And don't scroll, because the universe is aligning both sides gently, without pressure, without force. And listen to this, gentle alignment is the strongest kind, because it doesn't collapse under expectation. And your heart needs this right now because what's coming is meant to meet you where you are, not where you pretend to be. And don't scroll, because this unfolding is still in motion, and what comes next will build on this awareness, asking you to stay open, grounded, and receptive, because receptivity is how blessings recognize you when they arrive. And as the year turns, you may look back at this moment and realize that the surprise didn't begin with the plan itself, it began with the quiet knowing that something good was forming long before it showed its face, and that knowing was the universe preparing your heart to receive what was already on its way. Don't scroll, stay with me, because what I'm about to share now is where the meaning behind this surprise becomes clearer, and your heart needs this right now even if you're trying to stay realistic and keep your expectations in check, because this message is for you at a moment when intention is quietly turning into commitment. And listen to this carefully, the plan forming around you is no longer just emotional. It's beginning to anchor itself in reality, and that's why the energy around you feels steadier, more grounded, less like anticipation and more like quiet certainty. And don't ignore this, because certainty doesn't arrive as excitement at first, it arrives as peace, and peace is the language the universe uses when something is aligned, and your heart needs this right now because you've lived through seasons where excitement led to disappointment, where intensity faded quickly, and the universe has been teaching you to recognize a different signal, one that doesn't rush your nervous system, one that doesn't demand urgency, one that simply feels right. And listen to this, the person involved has moved beyond imagining the idea of including you and is now adjusting details, timing, and possibilities around your presence, and that adjustment matters. Because people don't rearrange their plans for someone they feel neutral about, they rearrange for someone who matters, and your heart needs this right now because you've often been the one adapting, compromising, fitting yourself into other people's schedules and priorities, and this is different. This is someone making room for you without being asked. And don't scroll, because this shift didn't happen overnight, it happened because of how you showed up consistently, calmly, authentically, and listen to this carefully. Consistency creates trust. And trust is what allows people to build plans that extend beyond the moment. And your heart needs this right now because trust is something you value deeply, even if you don't always name it. And don't scroll, because the universe has been reinforcing this shift through subtle confirmations meant to calm you rather than excite you too quickly. And you may have felt sudden moments of reassurance when doubt tried to surface, moments where your body relaxed without explanation, moments where you felt quietly supported. And listen to this, those moments are spiritual confirmations, reminders that you are not imagining alignment, and your heart needs this right now because alignment feels different from longing. Longing is restless, alignment is settled. And don't scroll, because this message is also about the emotional courage it takes for someone to plan around another person, especially if they've been hurt before. And listen to this carefully. Including you in their New Year vision requires vulnerability, because it means admitting that you matter enough to affect their future, and that admission can be intimidating. And your heart needs this right now because you understand vulnerability, you've lived it. You've felt the risk of caring deeply, and that empathy is part of why this connection feels safe. And don't scroll, because the universe is also asking you to notice how you're responding internally, whether you're staying open or bracing for disappointment. And listen to this. Bracing can block joy before it arrives, and your heart needs this right now because you deserve to receive without armor, even if only a little. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan is not about proving anything to anyone else, it's about creating a moment that feels intentional, comfortable, and emotionally honest. And listen to this carefully, honest moments don't need perfection, they need presence, and your heart needs this right now because presence is something you've been practicing, even when it was uncomfortable, even when you wanted answers. And don't scroll, because this message is also about your spiritual maturity, the way you've learned not to chase clarity but to allow it, not to force outcomes but to stay aligned, and that maturity has shifted what you attract. And listen to this, you no longer attract confusion the way you once did, you attract consideration, and your heart needs this right now because consideration is the foundation of emotional safety. And don't scroll, because the universe is also reminding you that meaningful plans often form quietly, without announcements, without promises, without pressure. And listen to this carefully, pressure collapses intention, while patience strengthens it. And your heart needs this right now because patience has been your teacher this year, and that lesson is being honored now. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan may include a conversation that feels different, a shared experience that carries weight, or a moment where you realize you're being seen more clearly than before. And listen to this, clarity often arrives through experience rather than explanation, and your heart needs this right now because experience settles the heart in ways words cannot. And don't scroll, because the universe is also preparing you to enjoy this moment without immediately attaching meaning or expectations. And listen to this carefully, enjoyment without attachment allows joy to deepen naturally. And your heart needs this right now because you've learned how. Attachment can turn hope into anxiety, and you're being guided into a different way of receiving. And don't scroll, because this message is also about recognizing your worth without needing validation. The fact that someone is planning around you is not what makes you valuable, it's simply reflecting a value that already exists. And listen to this, reflection feels good when you've learned to see yourself clearly. And your heart needs this right now because self-recognition stabilizes joy. And don't scroll, because the universe is also asking you to stay attentive without becoming hypervigilant, to notice signs without overanalyzing them. And listen to this carefully, awareness is gentle, anxiety is sharp, and the way this feels is gentle. And your heart needs this right now because gentleness is the hallmark of alignment. And don't scroll, because this New Year plan represents a turning point, not because it's dramatic, but because it's deliberate, and deliberate choices shape futures more reliably than impulsive ones. And listen to this, deliberate love lasts. And your heart needs this right now because you're stepping into a season where lasting matters more than fleeting excitement. And don't scroll, because the universe is also reminding you that you don't need to know every detail now. Knowing the direction is enough. And listen to this carefully, direction brings peace, details bring understanding later. And your heart needs this right now because peace keeps you open. And don't scroll, because as the new year approaches, the plan being made around you is settling into something real, something grounded, something meant to be experienced rather than imagined. And listen to this, when it arrives, you won't need to convince yourself it matters, you'll feel it, and that feeling will be calm, warm, and steady. And your heart needs this right now because that is how you'll know this wasn't random, it was aligned. And don't scroll, because this unfolding is still in progress, and what comes next will ask you to stay present, receptive, and trusting, because trust is the bridge between anticipation and experience. And as you stay on that bridge, you're not waiting, you're becoming ready, and readiness is what allows surprises to land gently instead of overwhelming you. And that gentleness is exactly what the universe has been preparing you for. Don't scroll, stay with me till the very end, because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now. And I want you to hear these words slowly, calmly, as if the universe itself is speaking directly to you, because this moment is not random and this message did not reach you by accident. And listen to this carefully, everything that has been forming quietly around you is now settling into place, not with noise, not with chaos, but with intention. And that's how you know it's real. Because what is aligned does not rush, it arrives when the heart is ready. And your heart needs this right now because you've come a long way, you've carried yourself through uncertainty, through moments where you didn't know what was next, through times when you had to trust without proof, and that trust was not wasted, it was preparation. And listen to this, the surprise being shaped around you is not just about plans or moments, it's about recognition. It's about someone seeing your presence as meaningful enough to build around, and that matters more than grand gestures ever could. And your heart needs this right now because you've often been the one giving, understanding, adjusting, and you learned how to do that without losing yourself. And the universe has been watching. And don't scroll, because I need you to understand this clearly. You are not being rewarded for suffering. You are being met because you stayed open without becoming bitter, you stayed patient without becoming passive, and you stayed hopeful without forcing outcomes. And listen to this carefully, those qualities shift the kind of experiences that come into your life, and that's why what's coming now feels gentle instead of overwhelming, calm instead of chaotic, and your heart needs this right now because calm joy can feel unfamiliar if you're used to intensity, but calm joy is the kind that stays. And don't scroll, because this is also the moment where you are being asked to receive without questioning your worth, to enjoy without bracing for loss, to step into what's offered without shrinking it down in your mind. And listen to this, receiving is not weakness, it's trust, and trust is one of the deepest forms of strength, and your heart needs this right now because you've learned how to trust yourself, and now life is meeting you there. And don't scroll, because this message is also about closure, not an ending, but a closing of a chapter where you questioned whether you mattered, whether you were seen, whether your presence made a difference. And listen to this carefully, it always did, and it does now, and that's why plans are forming around you instead of you chasing them, and your heart needs this right now because chasing exhausts the soul, but being chosen restores it. And don't scroll, because as this new year unfolds, I want you to remember this feeling, this calm certainty, this quiet knowing that something aligned is meeting you where you are. And listen to this, when it arrives, don't rush to define it, don't analyze it away, just experience it, because some moments are meant to be lived before they're understood. And your heart needs this right now because understanding will come naturally after presence. And don't scroll, because this is also where I ask you to engage, not out of obligation, but out of alignment. If this message resonated with you, if something inside you felt seen, steadied, or hopeful, take a moment and comment, "I receive this," or "I trust the timing," because speaking intention anchors it into your awareness. And if you want to continue receiving messages like this, messages meant for this exact season of your life, then like this video and subscribe to the channel, because staying connected keeps you aligned with guidance meant for you. And share this with someone who might be stepping into a new year feeling uncertain, because sometimes the universe uses us to carry reassurance forward. And listen to this final truth carefully, you are not walking into the future unprepared, you are walking into it aligned, grounded, and ready to receive what has been forming quietly in your favor. And as you move forward, don't doubt the calm, don't dismiss the warmth, and don't minimize what feels meaningful, because what's meaningful is rarely loud, and what's loud is rarely lasting. And your heart needs this right now because you are entering a season where lasting matters more than spectacle, depth matters more than drama, and peace matters more than proof. And rest in that, because the universe has not forgotten you. It has been working behind the scenes all along, and what arrives next will meet you gently, intentionally, and right on time.